What is the current status of Kuvacash?
Okay, so obviously you've been quite busy over the last few months. Since our last proposal, we've actually just raised a bunch of funding externally, as well as building the Dash's first sub-DAO, which is called the KDAO. And the KDAO has helped us raise about another 1,000 Dash. That kept us going. It's over 1,000 Dash actually from some very kind contributors within the community. That's allowed us to continue our work, and we've actually expanded a lot more on what we were originally going to do. So Kuva is now really a global proposition. We're looking to produce something that's going to be able to be used all around the world. We are, of course, focusing our proposition, our launch, all within Zimbabwe, but we have also started doing business within a number of countries in the Southern African states or Sub-Saharan Africa. So we have a new wallet came out yesterday to support that. We have obviously got that to a very good stage right now, which I'll give you a demo. But yeah, life goes on. We have a new proposal up, which will help us build up a war chest that's going to allow us to then really execute on the pilot as far as we can go, because we really need to make a bit of impact, a lot of impact going into the market. So we weren't actually funded to put our project live last year. We took that time to really cement things down, get additional funding, make sure that we stabilize the application and make it really beautiful, build up all our treasuries. We've built an internal ledger called KNet as well that supports all of our back office functions. So there, yeah, a lot going on. A number of partnerships, all the integrations with all our partners have been completed now. So I'll show you what that looks like on the wallet as well. But yeah, exciting times. We're basically, now's the time we're building up our war chest to go and take this proposition to the public.
Could you talk about what you have now built with the Kuva app and wallet?
The Kuvacash wallet, which I'll show you here, it's a BIP44 compliant hierarchical deterministic wallet. We built this the client here is all built from scratch, and we used a lot of the underlying Dash technologies, and also obviously Dash uses a lot of Bitcoin technologies underneath it. So we've used a lot of that source to develop the wallet, but we've actually added a lot. We've added a lot of features within the system as well to allow us to both bridge this into real-world financial services and also make it a lot easier for users to use. Right? We want to be able to put this in somebody's hand, and show them very little, or maybe show them nothing at all, and have them be able to pay, get paid, pick up cash, transfer in and out of Dash, add funds to the wallet as well. So that's a picture of the wallet. This is on our custom phone. This is the Kuvacash home screen from which you can send funds, request funds. This is kind of a POS type function. I'll show you. You're able to scan and pay. We also integrated support for the Dash Core wallet, so I can show you that it also will allow you to scan and pay into a Core wallet. You can transfer money in and out of USD very simply. Literally, if I was to transfer, let's say $20 between Dash to USD, it will come up and give me a rate. There we go, and I can just press a button and it's done. I won't do that at this point, but for a very low fee as well. We have a number of other features that we have added, the ability to pay all your contacts here. It's very simple just to pay somebody you've paid before. So we allowed those payments to go through very easily. So if I wanted to pay someone $1, this is how easy it is. And it's done. All right, that's paying back to my own phone actually. So we're just making the wallet super easy to use for anyone. And by doing that, we make it very accessible to a very broad range of people as well, especially within Zimbabwe, in places where smartphones are much, let's say, the penetration of smartphones has only recently kind of come out. We also have been working with the Crypt phone as well, which is able to run our software in addition to this. So I will show you what that looks like. when it's running. So here I have Kuva on a Crypt phone. Here I have Kuva on our own custom phone. If I was to say request funds of, I don't know, $1, let's say here, I'll get a code that looks like that. And then over here on the Crypt phone, I'm able to click the pay button, scan that address, confirm that payment, and it should be gone very quickly. There we go, done. So it's the quickest. We really wanted to streamline how fast you could get a payment through. Oh, and here you can see that the payment has come through. Okay, give it 1 second. You can see how the payment has come through. That's my $1 that was just sent, and the details about the transaction. So it allows for a very, very streamlined user experience. We've done a lot of testing, and we focused a lot on making sure that users were not going to get confused and were able to get the right kind of support that they needed at the right time. We also have a full support system built in, which I'll show you how that works as well. So if you want to get in contact and then have someone get back to you by phone, say help, and you're able to, we're actually able to log that in our back office and have someone pick up. And we can pick up directly with people on WhatsApp, with phone, by email, by SMS. They choose. We're actually monitoring which channels that people are going to want to have the most support through. The other thing that you can do with the phone is you're able to add funds to the wallet itself directly and using a bank account. So if you want, you simply press, where are we? Add funds at the top here, and it will bring up a page that allows a user, I've already initiated a transfer of funds. I'll try actually to view the status of that. So I've actually transferred the funds across. All of this is completely automated. The user gets to send money to an account. Just this one here, we're running the test account for now. This is a version that I can just do these transactions without affecting our back office and actually doing real transactions. But here you can see that they use a payment reference. Once they make that payment reference, it actually will automatically fund their wallet directly, and they will see the funds appear in the main page over here, up here. The other function that we have in the wallet is the ability to cash out. So when the user presses cash out, they can select an amount, let's say $10, $20 to cash out, and they can cash out directly. It will locate them where they can select our office. It's our Zimbabwean office there. They select when they would like to cash out, at what time. They check the details and they confirm. And what will happen is that they're giving a code and a location. They can also calendar it. And when they go to that location at that time, they complete the transaction with the agent. And actually, that's where the point at which funds will move from their phone to the agent's phone, and they will be given a cash out amount. Now, what is really special about how we've built this whole system is that our back end actually doesn't contain the custody. We don't ever have the custody of user funds. And what that means is that each person essentially has like their own bank on their own phone, that they have access to all of these services, including outbound payments. We can do 35 currencies in around to 140 countries. We can make payments directly into a bank account and so on. We have a full web application that allows people to do that, but we're also going to move that onto the phone. So with Kuvacash, as soon as you have a Kuvacash wallet installed, you're able to pay anyone around the world, receive inbound remittances, fund your own wallet, cash out, request funds from people in a POS-like fashion, transfer between Dash and our internal stablecoin USDK. You basically get an entire bank that you just run from your phone. and the whole thing is secured with your 12 words. On top of that, we've built a new technology as well that we call Skylock, which is able to secure your 12 words. So if someone finds your 12 words, they're not able to just simply take all your money. But the user themselves is able to recover their wallet on any other device. So we'll have some more information about that coming soon. But it's a bunch of cryptography there as well that we've included just to make the usefulness of the wallet, improve the usefulness of the wallet and security for users and consumers.
How do the Kuva and Dash Core wallet work together?
So another feature that the community has been requesting from us, a few people are concerned about the interoperability between Kuvacash itself and native core wallet applications. Now, this here is the core wallet and a Dash address for me to be able to receive Dash. On this side, I have the Kuvacash application, and as you can see, we've added the ability you can immediately scan and pay a. Oops, get this right. You can scan and pay into a Dash wallet directly. So let me pay, I don't know, 20 cents right there. There we are. And on this side, hopefully, you'll see that funds were received. Okay, so yeah, we directly support the Dash wallet. You can either do a scan like that, or you're also able to send funds. So when the user sends funds, they can send directly to a Dash wallet address that they paste, or they can scan the QR code for the Dash wallet right there and then. So as you can see, there's a number of ways that you can send Dash. A number of ways you can send funds between the wallets and the ability to bridge natively into the Dash ecosystem as well. But we've just made it a lot easier for users to be able to use whatever they need in order to make a payment or receive money. So you can also receive money directly into your account as well with native Dash support.
What is the value proposition for Dash of this new Kuvacash proposal?
So Kuvacash is an ecosystem that we've built to get people to find it very, very easy to store money in crypto, in Dash, and also transact it in a ways that makes a lot more sense to them. So we've done a lot of research on the ground. I mean, it didn't take too much research to figure that people on the ground don't really like to have to think too much about what's a wallet address and so on. Just like they don't like to think about IP addresses. They just want to be able to use, say, Netflix or search for something online and things like that, right? So what Kuva has done is made it a lot easier for people to be able to pay to a phone number, or to scan and pay as a POS type system, or to be able to get the money into, let's say, USD, cash in their hand, or to be able to have that money appear in a bank account, or to be able to pay that money to another person internationally in any currency they want. So all of these are like basic financial services that we've bridged all in around that Dash ecosystem. And so that was our vision from the beginning. Obviously, as we've gone along, we've learned a lot about how users want to use a system like this. We're now run live transactions in our as a pre-pilot. So we've actually had real customers gone through, and we've picked up a lot of feedback. That was the whole purpose of doing the pre-pilot. We've been running up a few fixes, but we've also been approached by other people. There's a broader proposition for Kuva that is more global than what we originally anticipated, especially in the way that we've built it. And so, yeah, we're really just still focused on having sub-Saharan Africa as our launch base. We think that frontier market is a use case where people have a real desire to use the currency. And obviously we're looking to move to other jurisdictions relatively quickly after that, but we have a certain amount of funding to be able to get into the market there and improve the system. And then there are many other places that this will fit for as something that you can provide financial services in a very, very simple way, very advanced financial services to people on the ground.
Has this value proposition changed since the previous DAO funding?
It's become a lot broader. We've made Kuva into we're designing it as a proposition that has a lot more international, global appeal. We don't really want to just stop at one country now. It feels that it does have a lot of legs for solving a lot of problems in many other jurisdictions. So we've built up a few partnerships there as well. We have been talking to other even DAO-funded entities about using our technology to allow a much easier way for users to use Dash. And we also have been aggressively pursuing the other initiatives, our launch initiatives, for example, the Kuva City Air, that provides us with a very large launch platform. So we want to get through pre-pilot and pilot and make sure that that's ready, because it looks like the Kuva City Air looks like it's going to happen now. We're at the final stages of securing that funding. That said, these things take a lot of time. We thought it wouldn't be taking quite so long, but we have secured well over half of that funding now. Just under half of that funding, and we're at the stage of finishing with a couple of additional funders who will come to the table, we hope, to finish that and then allow us to set up the bureau and launch launch the development of Kuva City Air, which is building the actual ropeway. So that's quite amazing, because this is a DAO historic first. In fact, even in the whole entire crypto world, it hasn't been done before. So we're very excited about that. And it gives us a very good launch platform. It's a Kuva exclusive system where people will use our wallet in order to pay for the use of the public transport. So very exciting stuff. How else has it expanded? How has our proposition changed? We developed an internal stablecoin ledger called KNet that allows us to move very quickly between currencies and still retain this concept that the user is in control of all their funds. So we still remain as a non-custodial proposition. That means we don't hold users' private keys while being able to deliver those advanced financial services for users. That kind of consider where it's come from the beginning of our proposition of when we got our first funding. We were going to have a network of ATMs. We were going to have an ability for people to acquire Dash via remittance and then cash out. You can see that it's changed and broadened quite a lot. There have been a lot more people involved now in this. We've had a lot of people approaching us because they really see the excitement of and the possibilities of what Kuva can do, given the technology we've developed so far. I mean, we have spent around $2.5 million on the entire proposition to date, and that has allowed us to de-risk every aspect of the project so far. Of course, we're still in a pre-launch state right now, but we do need to make sure we build up our war chest so that we can take that proposition further and out to the public in the best way possible.
How much DAO funding and time will be required to see Kuva to public launch? And how much funding and at what level will be needed to continue developing the proposition after that?
Okay, so we cut down a bit to stretch things out. So how much money was required to get us to this stage from our last proposal, which wasn't successful? We've cut down our spending quite substantially. That means, unfortunately, we don't have the iOS app out. That was something that we were looking to complete as well, or have in readiness or down the pipeline. So we've had to pull it down a bit. We have had other sources of our funding. We've had other sources of funding from KDAO, which is the Dash Community Contributors platform, and also from external funding of around 900,000 for that actually stretched us out to get to this point. And we have some of that funding left. However, we do need to build up a war chest to continue that. What we look at is the DAO funding allows us to maintain our alignment with the Dash project and overall, but we also are going to need to make sure that we have a reliable runway for being able to execute the pilot. What we don't want to do is run out of money, in the middle of the pilot or anything like that. So we've obviously taken steps to ensure that's not going to happen. But the ask that we have of the DAO at this stage, it really helps us to de-risk and ensure that we can actually continue into the pilot and launch into Zimbabwe, as we said we originally would. We should also be able to launch into South Africa as well with that funding. And for now, we're looking at the 3 months funding and we're always going to be capping it at under 100K a month. We're at this stage, the executive are on half pay, and we are stretching things as far as we can go. Our aim is to become self-sustainable as fast as possible, but we do have a lot of things that are in the pipeline that we've had to put back slightly, because obviously we want to stretch as far as we can go and have the ability, have the time to finish our partnerships and get additional funding. So yeah, we at this stage where we are, our run rate is around 100K a month. Ideally, we'd be around 130. That would allow us to complete our cards integration. We already have a deal with a payments card provider finished. We have our BIN. We need to just get that integrated into the app. And we would like to see an iOS app out as well. I think the community will appreciate that what we're trying to build here, what we've built here, is actually usable by anybody who has Dash, and it makes it in a way that I think is also congruent with the way that the Dash ecosystem wants to work. Now, we are also a showcase for Evolution. What we want to do is make sure that when Evolution does come out, that because we're a non-custodial system as well, that we build things on top of the DApp infrastructure. It's very interesting to us, and an important alignment with Dash, that we do become a Dash Evolution showcase. So that is why we have got the ability to send funds to phone numbers and pay codes and so on. All of these things are DApp portable, I feel, with the way that we've built them at least. But we've managed to get to a proposition that we can launch, whether Evolution launches or not. But we do hope that we can get to something that will be useful as a useful showcase, and something that really shows the power of Evolution going forwards. So we've built up our projections, getting to ourselves to get through the pilot launch, where we're going to have between 100 and 500 people over the next 3 months. That was our target. We're estimating it's around 230 to 250, something around that line, 250,000. That should allow us to get the iOS application underway as well, because that is something where the funding has not allowed us to progress with that particular project stream, but also that we have enough of a runway to make sure that we execute the pilot as best as we can. That includes like making changes, any fixes, operational fixes that we need to of the wallet and the back end. So moving forward, again, we want alignment with DAO and the Dash initiative. We're not going to be asking for more than we have asked for in the past, and we'll be able to provide a lot more data as to the pilot program. We want to make sure, we want to get Dash used by as many people as possible as quickly as we can. At the same time, we want to make sure that we get that experience right. The next phase for us, between 100 and 500 people following this next 3 months, we want to have between 100 and 500 people actually using our proposition. The next phase for us is to get into around the 5,000 mark. That could take us a few months. Again, another 3 or 4 months potentially. This is a greenfields proposition, so I've always been honest with people. We can't make promises about exactly how many people there are going to be. Contrast us a little bit with the kind of promises that people make about merchant numbers and usage. We are always very honest about that and what it takes to really get a proposition to those sorts of numbers. If it was that easy, if you could get thousands of merchants onto something just straight away, you'd find that other payments companies would have moved into this space a long time ago, and they have. So we are really being quite prudent about what we tell the community, make sure that it is what is achievable. And the next 3 months for us is between 100 and 500 people. You are using the application and getting those people over the next 3 months after that to really love what we've produced and to find it useful in their day-to-day lives. We've always said that. From there, once we do that, it's a lot easier for us to build up a get member campaign and have those individuals share out that wallet, or make payments to their colleagues, friends, and customers, or receive payments from their customers, so that, and then following on from that, those customers should have a good user experience, and then they'll share it with their friends, colleagues, and take payments from their customers, et cetera, and it really just rests on us making sure that those experiences are very, very good. That is our next 6 months or so of focus, but over the next 3 months, we aim to get through the pilot and have launched the proposition and have enough data so that the Masternode community can have a look. If they're happy with our proposition, they can then decide whether to fund us for the next lot. And obviously that's what our aim is, to make it as best as possible a user experience for anyone who touches the wallet.
If Kuvacash does not receive Treasury funding, what will this mean for the Kuva and Dash relationship moving forward?
So if we don't receive funding from the DAO, obviously our proposition now is big enough where it can take care of itself. This does mean, for the options that we have now, our plan B, as it were, it does mean that we'll take some distance away from Dash. We will continue to make sure we look after our supporters in the community, and we will ensure that Dash is a part of Kuva in some way. But there are a number of options that we have for funding at the moment. But the intent was from the beginning to have this as a Dash-powered proposition. That obviously will go more into the background if we raise substantial funding from our other sources. So yeah, obviously if the network is willing to support the proposition and support us through launch and get us into a state where we are sustainable, then we'd have no reason for going for additional funding. If the network chooses that they don't want to have the proposition, or they're happy with it to be wound back, then I guess all options are available to us. So we'll be able to take a different position as to how our funding will work, and it will modify the relationship between Kuva and Dash.
Kuva has received almost $1 million in external investment and 1,000 Dash from KDAO contributions. How was that funding spent, and what is the current financial status of Kuva?
So that funding is spent on the continued development of our partnerships and the finessing of the wallet. It also allowed us to progress into a tighter pre-launch as well. So we've used that funding for doing that. And we have also used it to build some resilience against not becoming funded again. So although obviously, the community is kind of split between funding Kuva or not funding Kuva at this point, more or less down the middle. So we had to de-risk ourselves against that eventuality. So, at this stage, we have raised around $900,000 from external sources. It's quite funny because a lot of people in the community were making the comment that it wasn't an investable proposition. It very much is an investable proposition. People did not even invest. This is a contribution schedule based on what we're actually going to be able to do with Kuvacash for just the African market. We also, from the people, from our community supporters within the Dash community, we raised over 1,000 Dash. I have the total somewhere, but we raised over 1,000 Dash from people within the Dash community who really wanted to see this proposition get to launch. So of that, we're very, very grateful. And we set up a separate channel called the KDAO, in fact, a whole sub-DAO for just people who wanted to support Kuva and that only. We needed a place that was away from detractors and people who are causing problems in the community as well, or generally not telling the truth about things. And so that allowed us to make a separation and bring our supporters together and raise those funds. So that's on the funding aspect. Yeah, we have a runway. We are further developing that, but we are obviously hoping that the DAO will come to the table with this. We have an amazing proposition that we've developed. It's arguably one of the finest pieces of software that's come out of Dash for consumers and businesses. So hopefully people can see that. But at the end of the day, this is a democratic process. If MNOs don't see the value of supporting the Kuvacash proposition, then it's it will do quite nicely by itself, but not quite so integrated with Dash.
Why was KDAO created, and how is it a DAO?
It's actually a sub-DAO, so it would operate underneath the DAO. Should things continue with Dash, we intended the governance of this entity to run very similar, as to the will of the masternodes, alongside with the vision that we're trying to achieve in Dash. So some of the allocation of funding and so on was going to be done, and indeed that's the plan within the context of a DAO, which we are building into the function of KNet. That is something that's able to become a sub-DAO for Dash, and then have funding that is allocated within the DAO to be then allocated to initiatives within the sub-DAO. So this has not, we haven't finished it as of yet. What we did want to do is make sure that we have a place that supporters of the Kuva proposition, that's people who are interested and creatively contributing to the proposition, somewhere that they've got a place that they can speak together, and they can also assist us with the raising of further funds. Again, those funds, the intent is that once they're allocated, can be further distributed into the different initiatives within Kuvacash. Right now, we are directing those initiatives. That's the Kuva executive team. That's the fastest and most efficient way that we can get to a business that's going to be self-sustainable. In future, a lot of that governance, the intention is to have a lot of that governance being done by the members of that KDAO, who we know are supporters of Kuvacash.
What is KNet?
So what is KNet? KNet is our internal ledger. So it's a couple of things. It's our internal ledger and how we process all of the stablecoin transactions. If we have all the stablecoins in a series, then we're able to do net settlements and everything with our liquidity providers, as well as it provides us for a consistent way of doing all the accounting. Plus, because it's not a third-party stablecoin, obviously stablecoin transactions for us are all free. So that KNet provides the framework and fabric for that infrastructure, but also in a wider context, we're actually going to operate all of the utility node infrastructure onto KNet as well. So more information will be forthcoming as we go, but that's really the summary of what KNet is, what KNet does. It's supported now in the new Kuvacash wallet. It's one of the things that we've been working on very hard over the last few months to complete.
What is the current status with the Kuva pre-pilot, and what has it delivered in terms of insight?
Okay, so the pre-pilot, you could call it the pre-pilot, the private pilot. We initiated that over a month ago now to get this into the hands of a few users who could actually use it to transfer money from UK to Zimbabwe. So we have a live customer who's used it through the entire process end to end to getting the cash out, and even just in that one process of obviously this is very new software, we discovered things that needed to be fixed up in our back office, some of the little glitches with the partners and so on. Basically, we allowed us, just with one customer, to debug the entire chain end to end. Because when you get it out into the real world, when you get like an application like this into the real world, it's not just the software debugging, it's also your connections with your partners, your operations, the team that's on the ground that will support it, and that, and also the user's experience of the end-to-end process, which is always a little different if you're doing some testing and compared to when they're actually using it in the real world. So when they're actually using it to make a transaction that means something for them. So for us, we've managed to get some custom going through the app so that we can examine what that process looks like, and we can concierge people through that as well to understand where they have difficulties, or obviously we know where on the back office where we have our bottlenecks and so on. And we've also had a handful of people, I'm one of them as well, who have been exercising the wallet and its functions, doing transactions, transfers, and generally testing it, but also making payments as well. Although my payments, I've not made a payment yet that terminates in Zimbabwe, but I have made a Dash payments that go between wallets and so forth.
Kuvacash performed over $700,000 in remittance payments in early 2019, but Dash was not used to perform these transactions. What issues prevented Dash from being used for these remittance, and how has this impacted the value proposition for Dash moving forward?
So yeah, we very quickly ran up 1 month. We found that people were very interested in the proposition and wanted to make a lot of business transfers. So we facilitated those. We tried to use Dash and for those transfers, and we found that it was actually, there's not enough liquidity to make large transactions while also keeping the spread very tight between getting in and out of Dash. We found that when blocks were moved, large blocks are moved on Dash, that it would actually affect the price of Dash. People were anticipating that there'd be liquidation and the price would normally move in the wrong direction for us. So if we're purchasing Dash and we're purchasing it at a high rate, the price would go up generally, like more than what the money that we were going to be making off it. So we weren't able to cover that. And then when we were moving that Dash to an exchange or to sell it, there's obviously some sort of bot activity in the background, and there's like the liquidity being restricted enough so that that the price, so the sale price of Dash would be correspondingly kind of dropping in anticipation of the liquidation of that Dash. Now, you know, that we because we wanted to test crypto rails, we actually tested a Bitcoin transaction, which doesn't quite suffer from quite the same amount of that movement. But we also found that moving in and out of Bitcoin was also expensive. So it's just a problem that we have right now. If we're doing larger transactions, the spreads are much wider from getting into and out of Dash and even Bitcoin to the point where it's not actually profitable. For smaller transactions, we think it should be okay. So we can actually do that hedging ourselves, and it's not as sensitive as well for the consumer. But yeah, certainly for the larger transactions, and all of them were very large transactions. I think our largest one was around 100,000. It was not economical for anybody to go in and out of Dash. And it's a problem that Dash has to solve. That problem is to raise the liquidity of Dash. That raising of liquidity of Dash is what one of our chief aims within Kuva was. That is the key alignment with the DAO and the Kuva proposition, is to get a lot of transactions happening on the Dash network, so that this, will in the wash, will be able to tighten up the spreads for us, both on-ramp and off-ramp for Dash. But at this stage, yes, Bitcoin is an order of magnitude in performance better for that function, solely because of that liquidity.
Is there any additional news or information you would like to share?
I guess what I want to make sure of is that people understand that, the business that we have at this stage that we've built, spent around $2.5 million to get to this point. We've done it on a very, very efficient basis for where we've got to right now. And that's in the licenses, the software that we've built, the back office, the operations, the team. We now own Kuva.com and .net, if I'm not mistaken. So we're actually going to broaden this proposition right out, and we really want Dash to come with us on this journey. I think that it's going to be hugely beneficial to some of the things I was mentioning before, particularly in raising the liquidity of Dash, and having a proposition like this that is being funded by the DAO as an alternative to the grassroots type of approaches that, although that there's been a lot of funding going in, we haven't seen a lot of movement with them. Maybe they also need to adjust their approach. Perhaps also the timing's not quite right for that sort of approach. But what Kuva does is it's a different approach to getting Dash out there and getting that adoption. And without Kuva, actually, there isn't anything else that's doing what we're doing on the DAO. So please think about that. Ideologically, I do want to say just something very quickly about that. Like, these two methods, the grassroots approach and the professional approach that we're taking, which is a leveraged approach, they're not incompatible with each other. In fact, they really do fit. To a large extent, Kuva is a grassroots approach. We also need people who find Dash useful using it. So, and we need those people to come on board and become aware of how useful it is to use this payment system. You get the benefits over and above a crypto like Bitcoin, for example, or Bitcoin Cash. They need to really be able to differentiate it by themselves. And piece by piece, we're also building our business. There's no business that will just land and suddenly there's millions of users and tens of thousands of merchants. What we need to do is build this from the ground up, and with people who are real passionate fans with us on the ground, across a period of time. But yeah, we want to make sure that, I would like to see that there's this approach in the DAO, that we have a proposition, if not Kuva, then something else. But right now there isn't anything. So, and right now really, Kuva Kuva is the best shot for what we are doing in Africa. We're the largest Africa-focused Dash exclusive proposition at this point, and with a professional team that is building it and launching it as a leveraged approach. So please think about that when you vote, and think as to whether it would be whether it would be detrimental to Dash should that be lost to the network.